Magic the Gathering is a very complicated game. It's a lot like rocket science or watching Rick and Morty. And sorry, Mr. Mosby, there are not 10 easy rules that you can follow to keep up, but keeping it biblical. Do y'all know what this is? Y'all seen this? You don't know what it is? It's hell. It's a picture of hell, as in Dante's Inferno, and it has layers, noticeably a lot of layers. Exactly. So let's talk layers in Magic the Gathering. Welcome to the video. All right. The layer system handles the interaction of continuous effects. Continuous effects are like how every night I fall asleep and I dream about boys kissing. That's a continuous effect. Layer 1, rules and effects that modify copyable values are applied. So that's basically whenever you're cloning something, having a creature or something enter the battlefield as a copy of something else on the battlefield. You know how when you like scan stuff, it just scans the barcode, it's just whatever's there? It's like that. So you take your Solemn Simulacrum, you give it a little scan, boom, you're a Solemn Simulacrum now. But there are some rules, like when you mutate homies onto other homies, the rules get a little different. You just scan it because it's 2 cards stacked and they become 1. Boom, now you're 2 guys combined. Hope that makes sense because that's all we're going to go over in this layer 1. Layer 2, control changing effects are applied. So this is basically whenever you gain control of a permanent by stealing it from somebody else. So like Furnace Reigns, you gain control of target creature until end of turn. Now it is yours. So if something has to, change hands, this is happening on layer 2 in time order. So if I have my Karn the Betrayer and someone else gains control of it because it takes damage, it's like Santa Claus where I can Furnace Reigns it back, giving it back to them before it comes back to me. So it's sort of like Santa Claus gives me the Karn, and then Furnace Reigns, someone steals it from them. It's a whole gifting chain on layer 2. It's very fun. Layer 3, of course, is text changing effects are applied. See Rule 612 for text changing effects if you care that much. Basically, let's take a card like Trait Doctoring. It's a blue mana for a sorcery. Change the text of target permanent by replacing all instances of one color word with another or one basic land type with another until end of turn, and it has Cipher. Very cool. So it's like sort of Feast and Famine. Equipped creature gets +2 and has protection from black and green. You can do some wizard shit and change the color from black to blue or from, green to blue or whatever until end of turn. That's what it does. It changes the text. So let's go over a quick little review so far of the first couple layers. So let's say I've got my Clever Impersonator. He enters the battlefield as a copy of any non-land permanent on the battlefield. Let's say I want him to come in as a copy of my Feast and Famine sword that I have wizarded into being a blue Feast and Famine sword. Well, what's going to happen? What is going to happen? Well, if we remember, it's going to become a copy of just any regular old sword of Feast and Famine. Why is that? Well, that's because we copy it and we're scanning whatever is physically written on the card. You notice how I have to write over the black with a little guy that makes it into blue? Yeah, the copy cares about that. And, the text comes after. So it copies as a regular sort of Feast and Famine, not a Feast and Famine with blue and green protection. Very fun. Might come up. Who knows? Now let's move on to layer 4. Type changing effects are applied. These include effects that change an object's card type, subtype, and or supertype. So let's take Mycosynth Lattice, for example. All permanents are artifacts in addition to their other types. All cards that are on the battlefield, spells, and permanents are colorless. Very fun. So let's say our Birds of Paradise gets equipped with a Psychic Paper. Now its name and creature type are all changed. This is all happening on layer 4. Throw a sombrero on it. It's going to Mexico with its passport because it's a different type now. It's all kinds of different stuff. But if we copy it, it's coming in as a regular bird. Very fun. And then layer 5, color changing effects are applied. The most famous, of course, is Painter's Servant. When it comes into play, choose a color. All cards that aren't in play, spells, and permanents are the chosen color in addition to their other types. It's basically like Ariana Grande, just changing colors whenever it's convenient. This happens on layer 5. And yes, I said it. Of course, I said it. It is what it is. She's dating the guy from SpongeBob. She has no right to say anything about me giving her some shade, who's also insanely popular, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, layer 6, ability adding effects, keyword counters, ability removing effects, and effects that say an object can't have abilities are applied. So let's take our boy Indominus Rex Alpha, a very cool commander that I would love to build one day. When you do a bunch of stuff, it comes in with a bunch of fun counters on it. This is happening on layer 6 with all those keyword counters that come in. We also have Tishana's Tidebinder, which if your opponent is playing like a Nadu and it triggers, you can flash in Tishana, making it snap its abilities out of existence as long as Tishana stays on the battlefield. This is all happening in layer 6 at the same time. It's very fun and very cool, and it happens in timestamp order. So if they have keywords, you kind of have to get rid of all those at the same time. It's very fun. Now, layer 7, power and or toughness, changing effects are applied. This is stuff like our boy Kudo, king among bears, where other creatures have base power and toughness 2/2 and are bears in addition to their other types. The fun thing is the bears thing is on another layer than the power toughness thing, but it's all one ability. Very cool. Same thing with Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite. Other creatures you control get +2/+2. This is a power toughness changing effect. And creatures your opponents control get -2/-2. Of course, this is all happening in layer 7. Very fun. Very cool. That's the end of it, obviously. That's all the layers. Just kidding. There's more, actually. Within layer 7, apply effects in a series of sublayers in the order described below. Within each sublayer, apply effects in timestamp order. Note that dependency may alter the order in which effects are applied within a sublayer. So just like Flat Earth, this actually goes deeper. Layer 7A, effects from characteristic defining abilities that define power and or toughness are applied. Weird, but it's the goifs. Basically, the easiest example is that its power is equal to the number of cards among card types among cards in all graveyards, and its toughness is equal to that number +1. That's a characteristic defining ability. Same thing, all the goifs basically got this layer 7 power toughness thing, okay, which is interesting. Then we've got layer 7B, effects that set power and or toughness to a specific number or value are applied. Effects that refer to the base power and or toughness of a creature apply in this layer. So Kudo, king among bears, applies here because he's making everything 2/2s. Same thing with Archon of the Wild Rose. Other creatures you control that are enchanted by auras you control have base power and toughness 4/4. So this is before anything buffs them. This is their base power and toughness, basically. Very fun. All right, layer 7C, effects and counters that modify power and or toughness, but don't set power and or toughness to a specific number or value are applied. So this is Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite, anything that's giving it a flat number bonus, but not setting it. Same thing with Flowering of the White Tree, for example. All these sort of anthem effects are on layer 7C of this lasagna, okay? Same thing with Skull Clamp. All your artifacts and your equipment that give you pluses or minuses are all happening on layer 7C. Which brings us to layer 7D. Effects that switch a creature's power and toughness are applied. Such effects take the value of power and apply it to toughness, and take the value of toughness and apply it to power. And just like on my BDSM test, switch is at the very bottom of the layers. So Calcite Snapper, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may switch Calcite Snapper's power and toughness until end of turn. Same thing with Valakut Firebore. It does the same thing, but when it attacks. So now let's go over a quick review so far. Number 2, our boy Calcite Snapper is a 1/4 until we switch its power and toughness when we play a land. Of course, we want to buff it up, of course, so we play Ancestor's Aid, giving it +2/+0, making it a 6/1. No, actually, it becomes a 4/3 because the +2 goes in before the power toughness switch happens. It's a little weird, but it could pop up. That's how layers work. So it goes from, layer C to layer D, which is what's happening. Ancestor's Aid is on layer C, and the switch is on layer D, so it goes 4/3 instead of 6/1. Very cool. This brings us to the final boss of layers, our final test. Humility, 2 and 2 white. Each creature loses all abilities and is a 1/1 creature. Now, this is easy if this is the first thing on the battlefield, but if there are already creatures with abilities and all that going into effect, there's going to be some shenanigans. Let's talk about it. First up, we've got Magus of the Moon. Non-basic lands are mountains. So if he's already on the battlefield making all your non-basic lands mountains, and then you play Humility, your non-basic lands are going to stay as mountains. Why? Well, because type, the land type effect that the Magus is throwing in, is actually applying before his ability gets turned off. It's very weird and very interesting. Of course, if Humility is already on there, Magus of the Moon comes in, doesn't actually do anything because it has no abilities and the way that time works, if that makes sense. Now, of course, I've invented a nice, easy mnemonic device to remember what all the layers do, and it goes as follows. Lucid Larry loves licking lasagna loudly and lavishly. Now, what does that stand for, obviously? It stands for layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, layer 5, layer 6, and layer 7. In case you can't remember the order, you need to remember the mnemonic device, okay? That brings us to the end of the video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you subscribe, subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I'll try my best to answer them. I'm no god, but I like to pretend. And if you have some extra money lying around, please donate to the children in Palestine in my link down below. See you in the next one. Peace out.